Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan. I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, and today we're coming at you with the midweek update in the world of cannabis. Now, before we jump in, if you enjoy this video or you learn something, please just leave a like on it, as it really helps out my channel. And then, of course, if you want to learn how to take advantage of this generational investment opportunity, subscribe below so that you don't miss any future videos. And there's plenty of content for you to go back, rewatch, and educate yourself with. I've tried to put all the news and facts in one place so that you can watch episodes over time to learn about the evolution of the industry, identify top companies that you keep seeing pop up, and take advantage whenever you're ready. But we're going to start with this brilliant ad from Gary Chambers, who is running for the U.S. Senate representing Louisiana. My first campaign ad, 37 seconds. I hope this ad works not only to destigmatize the use of cannabis, but also forces a new conversation that creates the pathway to legalize this beneficial plant, and forgive those who were arrested due to outdated ideology. And so I would play the video, however, unfortunately, I just had my Instagram account deactivated because I posted the new CBD news, and so I just don't want this channel to be affected if I play anything that shows, someone running for the U.S. Senate consuming cannabis. Don't see why that would get my channel taken down, but I just don't want to take the risk. So you can grab the link below, but I seriously recommend you check it out. It's a great ad, very powerful, and gets the message across as it should. So on to some others. This one from the Washington Post. Gotta love seeing that Bezos lobbying money being put to work. As the Washington Post highlights, U.S. law makes scientific research on cannabis too expensive and complicated. Might cannabinoids help treat or prevent COVID-19? Federal rules make it hard to find out, and this is the entire reason why we need to deschedule. So I'm not going to go through this article. You can grab it below if you want. Mostly touches on the studies and the recent findings from multiple universities, some in the US and then one in Canada as well. And so it's just great to see main headlines bringing this up and having the courage to ask the right questions. And while I definitely don't condone lobbying, and I do not believe that money and politics should ever mix, unfortunately, we're in an environment where that's the reality. And so if lobbying is going to come from Amazon and actually be directed to a good cause, like descheduling cannabis that's going to solve many domestic issues, then shit, I'll take it. On to this one from Vice, another mainstream article willing to say the difficult thing and have the courage to ask different questions than what all the other mainstream narratives are feeding you. So just wanted to highlight this one too. Outdated cannabis regulations are holding back research. We should be exploring all avenues of possible treatment and prevention for COVID-19, but patchwork laws and federal prohibition put up roadblocks. Yes, it's very unfortunate, and again, this is why we need to deschedule. So I'm not going to go through this one again, highlighting what I've covered last week and what the Washington Post article does. You can grab the link below if you wanted to check it out. Some other stories. Cannabis banking bill sponsor says he's going to get the darn thing passed before leaving office. So I'd love to hear that. The congressman spoke to Colorado Public Radio last week about his decision not to run for re-election this November and his disappointment that while the House has approved the Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act 5 times now in some form, the Senate has failed to advance it under both Republican and Democratic leadership. Adding that one still has me pretty irated, Perlmutter said, referring to the fact that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has effectively blocked his bipartisan legislation. When there was a GOP Senate Majority Leader, he was told the bill was too big and too broad. Then with a Democratic majority, he's told that it's too narrow and too limited. Almost like either Majority Leader just does not want to change the status quo because it certainly doesn't benefit the American people, sadly. Schumer and his colleagues who are working on the federal legalization bill have reportedly said that they do not want to see the Safe Banking Act passed before comprehensive reform is enacted that addresses equity issues. And hey, we're all with you. We want to see the people released from jail first. But if you want this and you know that you can't get it, work with what you can get and take something incremental in the meantime. Supporters of the banking bill argue that the incremental policy change is necessary to promote public safety, and importantly, it stands as a much stronger chance of getting to the president's desk with bipartisan support. And so while we hear politicians make a lot of promises and never keep them, nonetheless, Perlmutter said he plans to spend his remaining months in office pushing to get the job done. I have not given up on that when he said, I'm going to get that darn thing passed this year while I serve out my term. And so while elections are going to come up November 2022, if Perlmutter sticks to his word and gets this done, there's no reason to believe that we will not see some form of safe and hopefully safe plus that will allow clemency to get people out of jail and expunge previous convictions for cannabis, because at this point, absolutely no one should still be in jail. Then on to this one. I wanted to sneak this one in early because it was quite surprising, but according to Marijuana Moment, young people who use cannabis have better orgasms and sexual function, study says. So this is a study in Spain that recently concluded this. So because the existing scientific literature on the impact of drinking and drug use on sexual functioning is contradictory, finding both benefits and harms, a team of researchers from the University of Almeria designed the new observational study to analyze their effect with 3 commonly used surveys to detect potential risky drinking and cannabis use, as well as changes to one's sexual function. Sexual function in young people who use cannabis and alcohol more frequently was shown to be better than in those who don't use either. Interesting. And so from January to June 2020, researchers assessed 185 females and 89 males between the ages of 18 and 30 who were either regular cannabis or alcohol users or non-users, excluding those who used other substances like opiates or MDMA, as well as screening out those with pre-existing conditions like depression and diabetes, which could have a negative impact on their sexual performance. Now, sexual function is improved in young people who are high-risk cannabis users with a moderate risk of alcohol use, resulting in increased desire, arousal, and orgasm, the study published at the end of last month in the journal Healthcare found. This improvement is usually associated with a reduction in anxiety and shame, which facilitates more sexual relationships. And so the cannabis users scored higher than non-users on both the overall sexual functioning scale and the subscales of arousal and orgasm. And those who used cannabis the most were found to report higher sexual functioning and arousal scores than the moderate users. No differences were found on the desire and orgasm subscales between moderate and heavy users, and no differences were detected amongst men and women respondents in the survey. So very interesting. Our findings indicate that young people who use cannabis frequently, regardless of gender, have better overall sexual function. While this is still just an observational study, very interesting findings. As these cannabis results were consistent with previous studies that found cannabis use enhances sex and masturbation, increases sexual desire, and leads to better orgasms, as well as those that have found cannabis consumers have more sex than cannabis abstainers and a higher score on sexual health inventories and serum testosterone levels. And so the findings of the study revealed a higher score in sexual function as well as arousal and orgasm in subjects at risk of having cannabis-related problems and risk of addiction associated with alcohol consumption. So what do you know? When you're able to study it, you find out some very interesting findings. On to this one from Todd Harrison, sharing with us what Needham had coming out of Shooter McGinley on U.S. cannabis. And so you can pause to read, but just note how they finish off, highlighting our primary conclusion from this MSO conference is that the fundamental outlook is outstanding. I would agree, and I'm glad investment firms are catching on. On to this one from Toby Channabis, another snippet from Needham, as they correctly view profit dollars over profit margins, because in the long run, maximizing profits and cash flow dollars will maximize shareholder value. So just wanted to share this one. You can pause to read as well, but I'll just read the top snippet as the U.S. cannabis industry will never again be as small as it is today. That is a fact. The macro issues that slowed the second half of 2021 revenue growth are unlikely to persist in our view. And while there will be road bumps along the way, I don't see a single U.S. industry that has more growth potential than this one and that is more undervalued, especially because so many industries have shipped production off overseas to save money, whereas all U.S. cannabis is from seed to sale, produced, grown, distributed, and sold all in the U.S. There's another very valid reason, in my view, why you do not want to sleep on the great American state-led growth story, especially when it looks very primed to take off sooner than later. Well, I just wanted to share this one from Brady Cobb. Haven't been talking as much. I've been working twice as hard with Weldon Angelos, Pete Landrum, Todd Harrison, Jeff Schultz, and Follow NCR. Some talk, others actually put in the work. His preview, social justice via the Attorney General and White House, safe pre-midterms. Boris has his take, I have mine. So just wanted to share this one because he's another DC insider in the form of a lobbyist, as opposed to Boris Jordan, who's the executive chairman of Curaleaf. So we've got two different individuals working in the industry sharing their timeline. And so while Boris thinks that we'll get something introduced in February in the news, and then we'll potentially see a push to get Safe Plus done in April or May, which would be in line with what Schumer said last year, wanting to decriminalize by 4/20, 2022, then Brady has his take. So there's no timeline here, but just wanted to share this because the more perspectives that we know and that we see, the better decisions we can make as investors. And then on to this one from Curaleaf, as Curaleaf is to report their fourth quarter and fiscal year-end 2021 financial and operational results. Aftermarket close on March 7th, 2022. So just wanted to highlight this, the first of any MSOs to announce that they're going to be doing an aftermarket Monday, March 7th. So that is less than, obviously 2 months away. Seems like a long time away, but before we know it, it will be March. So just wanted to share that as we have the first of MSOs announcing that, and that will be kicking it off, while Trulieve and Connected Cannabis expand partnership to Florida. As Connected products will be available to Florida's medicinal cannabis patients exclusively at Trulieve. So Trulieve, taking advantage of another brand partnership, today announced an expanded partnership with Connected Cannabis Co., a premier cannabis cultivator. Through this agreement, Trulieve will be the exclusive producer, processor, and retailer of Connected branded products throughout Florida. While Connected branded products will be available later this year exclusively at Trulieve's 111 Florida dispensary, dispensaries, Trulieve already partners with Connected in Arizona. So lastly, just wanted to learn a little bit more about this company because again, this is one thing that we're going to see in this industry. A lot of brands that sell well, we're going to see some of the other MSOs try to pick them up and do partnerships with them because obviously if they're selling well and the demand is high, that's one way to drive sales. So about Connected Cannabis, Connected Cannabis Co. has been breeding, growing, and selling the best cannabis in the world since 2009 through its Connected and Alien Labs brands. Co-founded by Caleb Counts, a master grower with the mission of providing high quality products paired with excellent customer service, the company has created a cult-like following and some of the most celebrated strains on the market. And today, Connected operates multiple state-of-the-art grow facilities in both California and Arizona. So they're not single state operator, but mostly just in the West Coast, California and Arizona. So nonetheless, good to see Trulieve continuing to execute. And then lastly, just wanted to share this one story that I found from Puff Daddy, who's a big fan of Trulieve. Just a little update on where Trulieve is incorporated and currently does not operate, which includes Michigan, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, Alabama, Texas. And just wanted to share the snippet too. Apparently Georgia as well. Trulieve has recently secured one of the 2 large cultivation licenses in Georgia. So technically they will be operating there. Why he did not add Georgia into this list. But just if you want to take a look, snapshot, we can see Trulieve Chesaning in Michigan, USA. So it seems like they do have the ability to open up in Michigan in the future. This is another one in Michigan, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, and then just to show what else they have, Trulieve, Alabama, and then Trulieve, Texas. So that's quite interesting. Again, obviously means that they have no operations as of yet, but if you wanted to learn a little bit more of Trulieve, that's an interesting snippet I wanted to add in. Well, some news from Cresco Labs is they announced the opening of their 10th Pennsylvania dispensary in Ambler. Today, they're happy to announce it's expanding its Sunnyside brand in Pennsylvania with a new store located at Skip It Pike in Ambler. This location becomes the company's 10th store in Pennsylvania and 47th dispensary nationwide. So we are thrilled to be opening our 10th store in Pennsylvania, a continuation of our strategy of going deeper in our footprint and tailoring to individual state dynamics, says Charlie Bachtel, Cresco Labs CEO and co-founder. With our CPG and wholesale focus, we've been able to take the top market share in Pennsylvania, according to Headset. I think that was BDSA. But maybe Headset as well. Interesting. Adding additionally fully owned retail will support our brand building and provide more access to Cresco Labs' amazing products for patients across Pennsylvania. So good on Cresco for continuing to expand, and another partnership actually in the works for them. So just wanted to share this one as Khalifa joint venture brings Kush cannabis line to California, and this is being done as Khalifa partners with leading cannabis operator Cresco Labs for what's described as a cultivation and product collaboration partnership. And unfortunately, I do not have a subscription to Billboard and I don't plan on getting one, but just wanted to share this as this is interesting. And I will be looking for more information to share possibly on Sunday, but another good partnership taking advantage of brands that are in high demand and helping get those brands into markets where Cresco has supply and distribution in California. So lastly, onto this one from MJ Biz Daily, or not lastly, but last few stories. Several state cannabis legalization initiatives could make November ballot. And so just wanted to bring you down to this one. Efforts are underway to place recreational cannabis legalization initiatives on the ballot in Arkansas, Maryland, Missouri, Ohio, Oklahoma, and North Dakota. In Maryland, lawmakers are expected to approve legislation to place an adult use measure on the ballot. And so again, looks like after the elections in 2022, it's going to be another big win for cannabis. And so last few stories, this one from Marijuana Moment, as federal and state officials collaborate on cannabis standardization proposals at national conference. This is a big deal. So it seems like there's work going on behind the scenes as 2 committees of the National Conference on Weights and Measures and had cannabis regulated items on the agenda. If any of them are ultimately approved, I didn't even know that existed. If any of them are ultimately approved at a subsequent meeting this summer, they would be incorporated into federal guidance from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. NCWM's Law and Regulations Committee discussed proposals to establish a definition for cannabis and cannabis-containing products, develop a policy for the water activity range for cannabis, and standardize packaging and labeling requirements. While those first 2 items did move forward and achieve voting status, meaning that NCWM members will have the opportunity to adopt them into the NIST handbook when they convene again in July. However, the latter proposal, which specifically concerned creating a national standard for the weight of packages that contain cannabis, did not advance to voting status during this interim meeting and will continue to be considered in the future. But thank you, Marijuana Moment, otherwise we would never heard of this. And so as states legalize sales of cannabis in its various forms, the need has arisen for uniform standards of scale suitability, the justification section of that proposal says. Uniform requirements from one state to the next will strengthen each jurisdiction's ability to effectively regulate the industry in a fair and equitable manner, and uniform standards also provide industry with expectations regardless of the jurisdictions, reducing potential conflict or confusion. So just love to hear that federal federal and state officials are actually collaborating and working together on the back end. So hopefully this is foreshadowing for the stage that does look very well set as we head into 2022. And then lastly, just wanted to share this one from Bloomberg. Thailand plans to make cannabis legal, scrapping jail terms and fines for possession. Good job, Thailand. This is something that the US could learn from, as Thailand plans to decriminalize cannabis, moving a step closer to clearing its use for recreation after becoming the first country in Southeast Asia to legalize medical cannabis and its use in food and cosmetics. As the nation's Food and Drug Administration is set to propose the removal of cannabis from a list of controlled substances to the Narcotics Control Board on Wednesday. A very smart play that US leadership could very well learn from. And once cleared by the board, the proposal will need to be approved by Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul before it becomes effective. So the move could allow people full access to cannabis without the fear of lengthy prison sentences and hefty fines, according to Withid Sardichaikul, a Deputy Secretary General of the FDA. Currently, possession of cannabis in Thailand could land its owner in jail for up to 15 years, as the plant is a Category 5 narcotic drug. And it's a good thing that they are changing this because they realize that this is wrong, right? So thank you, Thailand, for having the courage to do the right thing. If we are able to decriminalize cannabis, we will be able to benefit from all of the plant and not just parts of it. With it said, the flower, buds, and seeds could be used economically and in compliance with the law. And I just find it funny how, government representative, if we're able to decriminalize cannabis, of course the government is able to decriminalize cannabis. The government is the ones that create the laws. Therefore, they're the ones that can change the laws. And they will do that when we put enough pressure. So thank you, Thailand. That's it for today's episode, folks. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and I really hope you got some value out of it. What did you think of the stories mentioned? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'd be happy to address them. But besides that, if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, please just leave a like on it. Subscribe below if you don't want to miss any future videos, and I will catch you on Sunday for This Week in Cannabis News. Have a great week, everybody.